because we
7:30
were
in
going to
Reedfield,
spend
Maine. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
$250 a month, a year?
Wow.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to the Reedfield Select Board meeting for July 9th, 2018. We just convened to have a presentation with a joint meeting with the Winthrop Town Council, which took place at 6 o'clock, and that actually ended a little bit early. And so we've come over here to follow up on that presentation and act on that particular item on the agenda, which is to consider a contract for the Maranacook Lake Outlet Dam repair. Tonight, for an agenda change, if you don't mind, I would like to move up the appointment of Patricia Clark, who is cordially here for the Library Board of Trustees to take place after the minutes and warrants. Is that the pleasure of the board?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll open with 19,001 minutes. Select Board meetings for June 11 and 18. Let's take them one by one. So for June 11th.
I would make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for the executive session and regular meeting on June 11th.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes for June 11th. Any comments, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. For June 18th, 2018.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from June 18th as presented.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as published for June 18th, 2018. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Thank you. And we'll move on to warrants 51 and 52 for fiscal year 2018 and warrants 1 and 2 for fiscal year 2019. This will be our first fiscal years for 2019.
May I have the packets, please? Or the folders?
Yes.
Thank you.
And you were managing that warrant?
I was.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so Eric is going to tell me if I get this right.
I think you've got it right. I think you got
Okay.
it.
So we have warrants 2, 2A, 2B, and 1. Warrant 2 was for $329,131.94. Warrant A and B were for state fees, and warrant 1 was for payroll in the amount of $16,796.08.
Do you have multiple copies of that?
You should on the front.
Yes, we do. See, I knew I'd do something wrong.
No, you did something right. Thank you.
You're welcome, so sorry.
Sorry.
And I don't think I mentioned that the state fees were $14,363.15. Any items of note in the warrant 2 was the $297,066.51 to the regional school district. We paid KV Cog for their annual dues. And other than that, nothing was out of the ordinary.
Can I just ask one question, if that's okay?
Absolutely.
The Vertran, the elevator, is
Yes.
that the conversion to a manually closed door?
No, we've already paid for that. This
okay.
is the annual maintenance fee that we pay
Oh, okay.
to have them on hand to do work for us if we need it, and to do regular routine maintenance
Okay.
outside of special repairs, which are sometimes necessary.
Gotcha, I wasn't sure. Thank you very much, I
Yep.
appreciate that.
And I guess I misspoke. The last item to the town of Winthrop is our annual fee for dispatch service to
Yep.
Winthrop, $5,600 approximately.
Nice warrant, a lot of good stuff.
So that is one set of warrants, and we probably ought to deal with that one. And then we have a separate one that was for the end of, was that for the end of
We have one for the end of this fiscal year and one set for the start of the current fiscal year.
Let's handle them in two motions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that one? So I guess I would make a motion to approve warrants 1 and 2 in the total amount of $345,928.02.
It's been moved and seconded to accept and approve the warrants 1 and 2 for 2019 in the amount of $345,928.02. Is there any discussion or question on these warrants? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. If you would proceed with the last two for 2018.
I'll pass that around for
Thank
signatures,
you.
because there's a second batch coming. And you all can get a little recap of this. 1 and 2 to you. And 2 to you. Look at that. I learned
Holy
quickly.
macaroni. Send one down. for
So
Randall.
these were the ending bills for the last fiscal year. It is warrant 53 in a total amount of $16,699.85. There was a regular warrant and no state fees and no payroll. One item that I thought was just really funny, Teresa and I talked about, is it's $38.27, but it was a advertisement that we put out in January to the Kennebec Journal, and we just got
You
billed
just
for
got the
it.
bill?
Yes. So it was just,
Papers are dying.
it was just hysterical
I don't see it.
to see the date.
I don't see
So
it.
this is warrant 53,
This is warrant 53 for
but we
last
also
year.
have warrants 51 and 52, correct?
We've already done those, right? 51 and 52?
Well,
51 and 52 are in my packet.
we didn't do them in the meeting.
Okay.
So
I
have
don't
51 and
have them in the
52. I have
Yes, because I
51 and
was-
52 in the packet.
Right, because I signed one of these. This is one of them, still mine. But that's one we've already. haven't we
Yes,
already-
there's one back here, ED.
Right. 51 and 52 were in the packet.
Okay,
Yep.
And that was, those
53.
were, yeah.
I just gave you 53.
Yep.
51,
sense.
51A and B, and 52.
Let's review 51 and 52
Yeah.
separately. Let's deal with 53, which Catherine has put before us,
Okay.
Okay.
and then we'll discuss that one. So
Sure.
we'll get warrant 53.
So these were a lot of just end-of-the-year items that came after the last two warrants. I don't recall anything that was outstanding, I mean, of note. We did pay for the sweeping that finally got done. That was L's Construction.
Okay, I can take a motion, huh?
I would make a motion to approve warrant 53 in the amount of $16,699.85.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve warrant 53 in the amount of $16,699.85. Is there any discussion? So
That
the,
takes care of all the bills.
Well,
Perfect question.
we will likely have one more FY '18 warrant, so we'll have a warrant 54 that will be anything else that comes in the month of July that pertains to the prior fiscal year. So we will have likely another one. So that was one of the concluding warrants. And then you do have 51 and 52, which were signed outside of a regular meeting previously. So you
Right.
typically would do what you've done here, just acknowledge them and,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I wasn't crazy, but we just haven't discussed it in the meeting. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
okay, the motion's on the floor, so
Mhm.
let's act on the motion. All in favor? Thank you. So what do we need to do with 51 and 52?
Just mention them, so Dennis, do you
Yeah.
want to run through that?
absolutely.
And I'll pass this one around for signatures, and then I need that folder back when you're done, please.
So are 51 and 52 appropriately signed?
Yes.
Okay, fine, great.
I'm just gonna go 51 and 52. I don't think we need to split them up.
Thank you.
There we go. And you could see 51 and 52 basically split up. You can see on page 1 how it all broke down. The biggest one there, call it monuments, cemetery. Jeez, with authority. Sorry, Bill. Contract service. I think that's just cemetery stone repair that we had there. Anything else? Nothing else particular stood out to me. We have our state vehicle fees and things of that nature, but nothing out of the ordinary for 51 and 52. Any questions that you have for me?
My one question would be, so were these approved at the last meeting?
No, this was an interim,
Okay. So
interim.
we do approve them as a matter of record, so.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I
absolutely.
want to make sure
yeah.
we take a motion and do
Right,
that
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly, Bruce,
Thank
yeah.
you.
So
And-
I'd like to move to accept warrants 51 and 52 in the total amount of $47,830.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to, for FY '18, approve warrants 51 and 52 in the amount of $47,830. Any discussion?
Just a big thank you to Dennis for finishing off the last quarter of warrant approval and passing the torch on to me.
That's right. In capable hands.
Okay, the motion's on the floor. All in favor? Thank you.
Hallelujah.
And I slammed that one by mistake, but
I was
I
afraid
had
of you.
signed it, but you haven't. So
Yeah,
I
I've
think you have to sign both.
I must do that.
And we've agreed to
Here.
take 19006 out of order, and that is to consider the first-time appointment of Patricia Clark to the Library Board of Trustees. Patricia, would you step up to the microphone, please?
We know it's everyone's favorite thing to do.
Yes. It's really an opportunity for us to welcome you and thank you for,
One of them.
going ahead and volunteering to serve on the Library Board of Trustees. I'm a former Library Board of Trustees, so I see it as a very important role in the community. Was there anything you wanted to address to the board?
No, I'm happy to do it. I'm excited.
Great.
Good.
Did anybody have
Thank
any
you.
questions?
Thank you for stepping up.
I don't have any questions, but a comment that you've done this for so many years in another town that I'm just astounded that you want to continue, and thank you very much for offering to do it.
No, you're welcome.
Libraries are a love.
They are.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I would make a motion to appoint Patricia Clark to the library board for a term beginning tonight and ending on 6/30/2021.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Patricia Clark for the term noted. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome to
You're
stay.
welcome.
You're welcome to leave.
And as she picks up her stuff,
That's it. No offense taken.
Dennis,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
you may just throw it at me.
thank you.
Oh, thank you. I don't want to borrow a pen from Eric if I don't have to.
He gets real persnickety
I'm
about it.
trying to be a grown-up.
Okay, we'll move along.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So next, we'll go on to communications, Select Board Communications. Seeing none, we'll move on.
Oh, I have something. Sorry.
Aye.
Yeah, you knew better
You were
than that,
fast
didn't you?
enough.
Hey,
You
I
knew
tried to
better
get
than
us
that.
to start early, but
Yeah.
Please, Kathy.
I wanted to just give an update, because it's not on the agenda, concerning the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee. At our last meeting, we had approved for Eric to spend more time managing the station and doing some outreach, and also to hire a recycling educator.
Yeah.
And he's been doing both. He completed the hire, and he's been spending a lot of time on the station. We're seeing direct results. Had a lot of positive feedback from the public. Rebecca
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez is the new employee who's helping not only with recycling education and encouragement and some education for people who are there using the facility, but has also done some fill-in for vacation time, and has become a valuable employee in a short period of time. I want to thank everybody who's working at the transfer station. The committee's been meeting kind of monthly recently, and we hope to not have to do that forever. But a big shout out also to Eric for really stepping up to the plate and taking the bull by the horns when I was at an Eco-Maine meeting a couple weeks ago. It was announced publicly that Reed Field's town manager was the most aggressive in tackling the recycling contamination situation and the most proactive and in promoting education.
Wow,
And I was really pleased to be there and hear that.
Thank
So,
you.
congrats.
Huzzah.
a big shout out to Eric for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just a quick one.
Thanks.
Reedfield Festival, August 11th.
Be there or be square.
Yep.
I'm going to take longer. Reedfield Festival is August 11th. Talk a little bit about this. Of course, the Reedfield Festival is happening this year, the off year of Heritage Day, so there's no town funding at all involved in this, so we're excited to kind of make this a kind of grassroots community effort. There are plenty of things going on at the Reedfield Festival. One of the biggest sort of things that we're having this year is a kickball tournament. We're trying to get neighborhoods, we're trying to get companies and groups in Reedfield to get together. You do not have to be from Reedfield to participate in the kickball tournament. There is a $20 entry fee, but that's per team, and we'll give away prizes for best team name, best uniforms for the team, and it should be fun. We're on Facebook. You can find us. Reedfield Festival has its own page. Reedfield Festival 2018 is an event that's going on, and we're very excited about it. The evening, the whole day has music. There's plenty of groups throughout the town who are involved, and we culminate in a improv comedy show for 55 minutes down in this very space. At the end of the night, starts at 7 and goes until 8. So we hope that we get a chance to see everybody out there. Find out more information. Find us on Facebook and find out how you can be involved with that. And thank you.
Great, thank you, Dennis. Anybody else? Good, we'll move on to town staff reports. Eric?
All right. Well, I'm going to just give a brief update. I'll be submitting written reports for finance and town manager in the next week once I get back. It was off last week, which was a wonderful reprieve, so thank you all for the time. And we're wrapping up the end of the fiscal year. We have been working closely to finalize the last bits of our audit and transition our audit team to the Barry Talbot Royer team. They'll be in this Wednesday to begin the audit process, taking a little bit different approach, which is refreshing to see. We have a focus on procedural framework. They want to see all of our guiding documents. They want to, really come in and establish what systems we operate under to make sure that we're abiding by those very systems. So I think that it's a good approach, and I think that we've made the right choice by getting somebody new in to look at things a little bit differently at this point. So I'm excited about that. Teresa has done a tremendous amount of work getting them information, reporting out from TRIO. We did successfully close out the fiscal year, less any final adjustments through the warrants that, like you've just passed. Those adjustments will be able to be made and go back into that fiscal year, so we can continue to be active, but we've started the new fiscal year, reset all of our receipts, and moving forward with the new budget. So that's all taken place. It wasn't entirely seamless, but it's done, and we're glad to be moving on with that. I do want to spend some time and give as much of an annual update as I can, because we did just finish the fiscal year. So I think it's valuable to have that recap. Of course, the audit is the ultimate recap, but that takes 6 months, so I'd like to be able to give you some highlights, and that's what will be included with my next report coming out mid-month probably. As far as town management goes, thank you very much for the comment about the solid waste. That's been a big focus over the past several weeks, and we've had some great support from the staff, and our Facebook admin's been out there putting out. We have a town Facebook page now, by the way, so it's official. We have our town seal. There's a few others out there that are unofficial, but this one we put on, pretty reliable information most of the time.
Yeah.
293 different ways
Ways
to make change for a dollar.
A Reedfield random fact. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but,
absolutely.
so anyway, Dennis has been helping out with that, which has been wonderful, because he has the enthusiasm and energy that medium demands. So, thank you, Dennis, for your help with that.
My pleasure.
We are working on moving forward with our regular summer maintenance. We have a couple items on the agenda tonight to talk about equipment that will relate to both summer and winter activities. But getting those RFPs out and back has been important. The dam project, moving that along and finalizing that bid process and the bid opening. Really pleased to see that coming to an end. That has been quite an ordeal, but I think very well worth it, because we're supporting so many people that pay a lot of taxes in this community. They're not the only ones, but they certainly pay a high share. And we owe it to them to make sure that, you know, their front lawn, the water is where it should be. So pleased to see that happening, and I'm sure we'll be able to pick somebody tonight that will do a good job for us. We are, speaking of maintenance, looking for a full-time maintenance person. We do have a vacancy in that department, so if you know anybody who might be interested, please send them our way. Also, please be aware that we are down by one full-time staff, so we may take a little bit longer to respond to some activities in some areas, but we are paying attention. We're keeping records. If you send in a road request, it will get cataloged and addressed. Those things will still happen, they just might happen a little bit more slowly. So, and it's been gorgeous weather. We've had some washouts because of the thunderstorms that come with that warm weather, but we've been addressing those as quickly as we can. We've had to buy the first load of cold patch that we have since I've been here. So 2.5 years, almost 3, and we had to buy a load of cold patch for the potholes and the washouts. So it's been a while coming, but we're taking care of it before it gets worse. So I guess that's all I have from my quick updates, and like I said, I will be putting out on the website and to the select board formal written reports in the next week.
Right, and we'll take that formal report at the next meeting and have some time with it, just so if there's questions on it. So it won't be just a report that'll just get issued.
Yes.
It'll actually have a
Yep.
point of discussion around it, but you'll probably have it for some time before we actually have the meeting.
I have one question, if I may.
Please do.
Was one of those washouts at the bottom of Sturtevant Hill near 17?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so that's been patched?
We have a temporary patch there. We actually ran out of cold patch, so we have to get another truckload to take care of that issue. And that one blew up really quick. I was surprised at how quickly that came. But
There were some cones around it, which I
Yes.
found helpful.
Yep.
I come down through there every day, so.
I was shocked. I'm like, I haven't seen that in Reedfield in years.
yeah,
So testament to all the road work that we've done, and just had a little blurb there and blip.
Life happens.
So I have
Yeah.
one quick question. First of all, thank you for your report, Eric. And so this is just kind of a general question, and that is, the Facebook page does the publications, are you proceeding with that under the publications and communications guidelines?
yes, that's
Okay,
the
so
founding document.
since it
for
is an official
Yep.
publication, so we'll just follow that appropriately.
For the
Good.
time being, we'll comment. We don't have comments coming in. It's a outflow.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Only.
We sort of, if I may, Bruce, just to sort of give you a little bit more background, we absolutely use it as a publication and the publication ordinance Eric sent to me, and I was a part of helping, you know, that wasn't last year, so
Yes.
I want you guys to know that it's in line with the stuff that we need to make sure we do right.
Yeah, I think it's another channel of communications,
Yeah.
and it's all good. I just want to make sure that we're following that policy, and I'm sure we are. Great. Sometimes things just get said.
Oh,
To make sure
absolutely.
they're said.
Yeah.
I want to thank the Cemetery Committee for their minutes of May 16th, 2018, and the Trail Committee for their minutes of May 22nd, 2018. And was there something else that was added in? I guess not.
I don't think so.
Okay. Great. Public communication. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address the board? You're just attending and watching us.
I'm just waiting until you get to
Damn.
19007.
Okay,
We'll be there very shortly. Thank you for being
I've
here.
spent 10 years on this.
Okay, great, great.
excellent. Well,
We'll see you in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And I waited to see what happened after you guys left in Winthrop.
Okay, great.
They're all together, even though they're all apart.
oh, good. Well, we'll hear from you in a minute.
We'll move on to appointments, reappointments, and resignations. We have no resignations. We have 3 reappointments in 1903 through 05. Could I have a motion in
I'll make a
regards to all
motion
3, please?
To reappoint Jerry Bly to the Conservation Committee for a 3-year term, to reappoint Sean Keegan to the Recreation Committee for a 3-year term, and to reappoint Robert Peel to the Trails Committee, not for a term of whatever, but for 3 years.
Yeah, it is 3 years. Great. So we have that motion. Can I have a second, please?
That was Chris.
Chris made the second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. And we'll move on to 19007, which is to consider a contract award for the repair of the Maranacook Lake Outlet Dam. We had a presentation, which is a joint meeting with the Winthrop Town Council. And so, Eric, I'm going to turn this over to you for some initial overview, and we'll invite questions from the public and discussion and comment from the public, as well as the board.
All right. Well, thank you, and it was a great informational meeting in Winthrop. They were gracious hosts, and Wendy Dennis did present more or less the full background of how we got to the bids. And so I won't go through that again, but I will make a few points about where we are financially, as well as how the bids may affect us. And I'll start by saying that I do support fully the recommendation of the dam committee to go with H.E. Callahan. I've had positive feedback. They were in this close the last time around. They've been aware of this project and involved for a number of years. And one of the bidders that didn't actually submit a bid but did come to the pre-bid meeting gave me a very good reference for them, saying, hey, it's not us, but these guys are good. So well respected in the community, and I fully support the recommendation coming from that dam committee, which has been very active and hundreds of hours on this project. So their recommendation carries a lot of weight, a lot of water, right, Dennis?
I like that. Fun, man.
Yeah, so we did approve at town meeting borrowing up to $177,000 for this project. We do have around $120,000 available in reserves right now. It might be a little bit less once we pay our engineer for the bid consulting work that they did for us. So that's a bit of the financial background. Of course, that 177 borrowing was approved. It was an up to amount. We were looking at a 3% interest rate. Right now, it's looking like we're going to be closer to 2.7, based on initial numbers from Tony Reed with the Maine Municipal Bond Bank for a 10-year borrowing, which is what we had specified in the town meeting. So we have the money on hand. We have the bond application process underway. I've been talking with our bond counsel for the past month, getting things squared away.
How much money do we have set aside?
Around $120,000.
And I'm just going to interrupt you.
Sure.
The document you gave us is 3.77. So was it 4% we had gone at, and it's going to be 3.7?
377. No, that's prospective borrowing for our.
Oh, that's the other.
Municipal vehicle. I wish that dam only cost $45,000. But yeah, no.
Sorry, you're correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so the informal numbers we have right now are better than expected, but that's some of the financial background. With the low bid, we did have 3 bids. The low bid and the recommended bid is for H.E. Callahan, $478,000. Is that an 8? Yes, it is.
476.
476, sorry, for 500. For that amount, with the 53.3% share for the town of Reedfield, that would make us responsible for, with no adjustments, $253,914.50. With the $120,000 more or less we have in the bank, that means we would need to borrow just for that amount, $133,974 roughly. So our approved borrowing is about, well, 40,000 less than that, or more than that, excuse me. So we have a significant cushion here. So we can very comfortably accept this bid. We could even arguably accept the higher bid, but that's not what we're looking at. So we can comfortably accept this. We can comfortably borrow, I would say, start off with that full amount, or at least head that direction until we have any indication otherwise. And any.
When you say full amount, what do you mean?
The 177 that was approved at town meeting. I should be more specific. Thank you, Bruce. And the reason I would recommend that is because we could have a change order. We could have a washout that requires $20,000 of equipment replacement and infrastructure work to be redone. Cofferdams aren't cheap to install. So at this point, I would recommend that we do proceed with that full amount, knowing that we can apply then any of the money that isn't needed in that initial construction phase towards interest payments. So we can then apply it right towards the interest and reduce what we have for future obligations.
Would that reduce the 10-year period, or would it reduce the annual payment for the 10-year period?
It would reduce the annual payment, because it is just for the interest, and the way we're looking at it is even, I believe, if I remember correctly, level interest and level principal,
Understood.
if I remember the structure. So that's a positive for us. And that basically is where we're at. We have, I don't have much else to add. I'd welcome our committee members to come up and speak if that's okay, Bruce?
Yeah, I guess I would ask one question. I mean, would you consider a modest cut in the borrowing amount?
Sure. I mean, it's entirely up to this board on how you want to proceed with that borrowing.
I mean,
I'm an abundance of caution kind of guy, so take that in mind.
I know you are, and I welcome that. But since we're over by $40,000, I see an opportunity to perhaps save some money, or at least set aside. And I absolutely understand what you're saying about using the existing, trying to take care of the interests in a very efficient way. But I'd like to cut back that number a little bit. Anyhow,
Sure.
Let's hear from questions from the public.
You came in at the right time.
You came in right at the right time, Larry. Hi.
Oh, you were here first, though.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Well,
sir.
Can
we
I make
just
a
started that.
comment before we go to public
Sure,
communications?
please do.
It is,
Perkins. I'm a member of
it's
the
okay.
Rannocook Lake Outlet Dam Committee. I've been on it since 2013, and 49 meetings later, I think we've finally reached our journey, the end of our journey, that we went through all the processes that we kept you folks up to date on. We went out to bid in 2017 without all the information, and we found out that it wasn't the way to go at that time. We went back to the drawing board, put together a complete package, and put it out this time with the towns voting the funds ahead of time, all the permits in hand, DEP, town, Corps of Engineers, and we're really ready to go. And I don't know what you discussed in Winthrop, but H.E. Callahan is the low bidder. I'm very familiar with them in my previous life at Central Maine Power and Union Water Power Company, and they're a very quality outfit, and we strongly recommend the approval of going ahead, and then all the town has to do is finish the bond bank proposal. So,
Well, Larry, I really want to just thank you for a very long amount of due diligence on this, and it
Thank you.
affects a significant part of the property values in our town, and I want to thank you, and on behalf of the town, and certainly those property owners too,
Yep.
that are concerned about lake levels and so forth. And when we get into this whole thing with Winthrop,
Right.
I believe this dates back to the floods, the initial big floods that were in this area.
Right.
And so I'm happy, and particularly happy that your expertise from an engineering standpoint of view is also brought forth on this.
Well, thank you. You know, it's been a long journey, but I think, you know, several setbacks we had along the way were probably for the better. And I think what we've ended up with is an excellent project that'll be taken care of, you know, all at once, start to finish, between the stream bank stabilization and the new Obermeyer bladder dam that allows us to control the lake the way we want to. So, thank you.
Good, thanks.
I agree. I think we probably all agree, but to all of you who have served on the committee,
Bill Buck's been there since the beginning. Shelley Gerstein came in a little of the way through, but we've been there as a team, and that's what's important.
The representation from Reed Field has been 100%.
Bill, would you mind just going to the mic and introducing yourself? It just allows the camera to pick up your comment properly.
The reflection won't blind people?
No, it won't. We got a great camera guy to take care of that.
We do.
The Reed Field representatives on the Outlet Dam Committee held the prize for being the ones who were there all the time, even with travel, with personal things. And it brought the people from Winthrop into focus because they realized we really were there for a purpose. Now, that's going to go to, and make some people mad at me, but it's true. It's true, it's true. Congratulations on your part. It's tough to sit and watch and know that if you don't make a decision this year, it's going to cost you more next year. I have a neighbor who delayed building a house 1 year, 30% more on the cost of materials. That's the life and the place we live in right now. And this has been a hot subject for me all the way through. I lived a world that said, get it done now. And I've been sitting on a hot rock ever since this committee started. I'm glad to see it come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your comment.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I'll say is I just got on the select board last year, so I have completed. I have a year of experience. So I can't say I'm new, but it's been really interesting from my standpoint because I haven't endured all of the meetings and things, but with fresh eyes to see that, you know, if you do it right this time, you know, do it right the third time. It seems like it's kind of the sort of simple wisdom that I would say, but this does, it's unbelievable, the time and the, I understand it, but putting it in perspective, it's like, let's do it right.
Thank you. And I think, as the select board member said, the town has been very well represented at these meetings and through the whole process, and we're pleased about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine?
I would like to bring up a different aspect of this, but I'd like to keep that separate from the actual bid. So I'm happy to make a motion. So that motion would be for Reed Field to, for our part of the dam, the 53.3%, award the contract to H.E. Callahan Construction Company. The total bid amount was $476,500. I believe there was a addition and what did they call it?
It's a bid alternate.
An
Yeah,
option,
It's an alternate.
an
It's not
alternate.
gonna-
Okay.
yeah.
As was proposed in the 3 bids and the recommendation from the Maranacook Lake Dam Outlet Committee.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I will make one point, if that's okay.
Please do.
Maybe two. The number that was quoted, I believe that by talking with the contractor and working with the preferred selected contractor, we may be able to reduce that cost some. And there is an opportunity, I think, to leave a more lasting impact with that gatehouse, the one that was originally going to be metal, but is currently slated to be timber frame, but with vinyl siding. I think that a little bit of a change order there and putting on something like cedar shake it's like an 8x10 building. It's not very big. A small change like that could make a very big difference, I think, in how this looks in the community of Winthrop.
Aesthetic,
Not that we want to spend extra money, but I think a small change like that could add to the longevity and the aesthetic appeal of the structure. So I think that if you want to, I think your motion does this, but leave it broad enough that there's a little bit of wiggle room to negotiate with the contractor to bring the price down, and also perhaps to make some changes to improve the project if necessary.
Let's make sure we're careful with the wording of the motion then, because we want to make sure that it's recorded to give that latitude. So do you want to restate your motion and?
Was everything that you talked about available in the bid that they gave?
No. So what I'm talking about, I guess, would be, we saw some significant price differences between a couple of the bidders. Once we've selected a preferred bidder, we could go back and say, hey, why were you $10,000 more on this? What can we do to bring that down? And have some of those discussions once we've selected a preferred contractor. And so those opportunities do exist, and I think that was left open a little bit at the pre-bid, or not the pre-bid, but at the bid opening by the contractor from H.E. Callahan, their representative, to some extent. But as far as the things like Cedar Shake, that's not something that I've discussed with the dam committee. It's just something that I was thinking about when I was reviewing the bids and saying, geez, is there something in between a metal structure and vinyl siding?
Right.
So,
Right,
yeah.
no, I'm with you.
Would
Well, I
that be
think-
a separate motion to do the building different?
We would probably have a change order. So that would be something that we could either have latitude to do, or we could bring it back to the boards and the council.
So I'd like to withdraw my motion, if I may.
I second that.
Okay, so the motion is withdrawn. So what I want to do is make sure we authorize the bid and that we're recognizing the amount in the bid, but we're allowing the flexibility for change orders within the bid amount, and that if change orders become greater than the bid, and by the way, on a project this magnitude, the idea that there won't be change orders, I think, is something that would be folly
Yeah, it'd
to
be hard to
think
imagine,
about.
yeah.
You know, we can take those up,
Sure.
you know.
So I would like to make a motion to authorize the town manager to accept the bid from H.E. Callahan Construction Company for the Maranacook Lake Dam Outlet Project as specified in the bid.
Mhm.
I second that.
I think we should speak to the amount.
You want the amount in there, too?
Amount in there?
I think we should.
That's
Okay.
wise, I think, initially.
For the
anyway,
total
yeah.
amount of $476,500.
That's correct. And that recognizes that you may negotiate
Right.
change orders within that amount.
Now we're good?
Okay? Yeah,
I
you're
second
good.
that.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I was there, buddy.
Is there discussion on
Trying
the
to
motion?
get this right.
Is there discussion on the motion? All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion and then have us discuss it.
Sure.
It's concerning the borrowing, so I'm going to make a motion that we borrow the full amount that was stated in the town meeting warrant for this past year was it exactly?
It was 100, and I have brought it with me. I believe it was 177, but I'll double check. Up to $177,000. That excludes any interest payments. That's the principal. So,
That we will borrow from the Maine Bond Bank,
Maine Municipal Bond
Maine
Bank.
Municipal Bond Bank, an amount up to $177,000 to finance a portion of the project, since we already have a significant amount in savings.
I'll second that.
Now the discussion?
Yes, discussion, please.
So by wording it up to $177,000, does that take care of any needs that we had discussed a few minutes ago?
Um,
Or do we need to borrow the amount now before we start the project?
Well, the up to certainly takes care of the motion in terms of the authorization for the town manager to move forward. However, I want the town manager to have guidance from this board.
Yes.
And so my goal here is to, there aren't a lot of opportunities for us to, along the way, to perhaps save on a project. We've done good due diligence in Reedfield in setting aside money for this project. I don't think Winthrop is having the same discussion. I don't think they have 120 grand in the bank. We do. So I would rather us think about borrowing somewhere around 150 to 155,000. And that, I don't need that in the form of a motion. I just need that in the form of discussion here. And we will be actually signing the final package of anyhow. So at that point, we can hopefully already have discussed, if you will,
So I guess
exactly what we'll be doing.
For me, it would be the 476,000. Does that include contingency, Eric?
The 250, the 177 or the 253. So our obligation with this low bid is 253,914, let's say 254,000. We have 120 in the bank, so that gives us the 134 that we would be owing.
So basically, if you, for example, if you financed 155,000 with 120 that's sitting in there, you have 275 on an obligation of 255. So I see you have about $20,000 of wiggle room there if other things arise that.
How much of the 120 are you gonna have to pay the engineers?
We've currently, so I was doing some math on that, a $20,000 overlay, but would be about an 8% contingency, just for reference, so just to put that in context. We don't expect to have too many ongoing engineering costs. Right now, we are planning on having Larry, or an alternate graciously, be our clerk of the works and supervise that work more or less on a daily basis as the work progresses next summer. I think that we can certainly get a little bit of help as well from Winthrop and from their people. But as I understand it right now, the engineer's work is more or less done, other than at the end of the project, maybe verifying completion and coordinating with our clerk of the works on that. So they might have a couple $1,000s in there remaining once we pay for the work that was done to date, because we had originally had about 123,000. We probably spent 5 or 6 in the final part of this bid process, or half of that, 2,000 or 3,000. So we're right in the $120,000 range. So I'm comfortable with that number. But yeah, the 20,000 would give us about an 8% buffer.
Is that common?
I really can't say. I've managed a few projects in this range, 300,000, 200,000, but I would think that we'd probably want at least 5 up to 10, but maybe Larry can answer that a little bit better than I can about contingencies and with a project like this, what you would recommend, because I really don't have a recommendation on it.
You know, where we are with the final design, final design, all permitted, that we've gone from a 25% contingency to a 20% contingency to a 15. 10 might be worthwhile, and then it allows you, whether you want to look at the pre-engineered building versus stick-built building, but I think, 10 would be sufficient and I think wise. I don't see anything coming, but that's very typical for projects that have had this detail of design up front on fixed-price contracts.
So that's a little bit higher than my 155, and that's fine. That was, we were having simply discussions, so
Right.
I'm comfortable with 10%. And by the way, I did not know you were going to clerk the works on this, and again, that's a level of attention that I really do appreciate. So, I would say, why don't you go ahead and put together the finance package so that we recognize a 10% contingency approach.
Just one final, I could not profess myself as a field engineer. I was a licensed professional engineer for 43 years, and I let my license go in 2013 because I didn't want to keep doing the PDEs. And, but a clerk of the works it's fine. Yep.
And Bruce, can you just say you just want to refinance it, just if we don't have to borrow that much money, you just don't want to, right? I mean, is that what
Well,
you're saying?
I think that the past boards have, in very good faith, been setting aside money for this project, and I want to recognize that by borrowing, I don't want to say the least, but the right amount, if you will,
Right.
for the project. So I'm not, my goal here isn't to save, is to narrow it down and save as much as absolutely possible and then find your hands tied later.
Right.
It's just that the numbers happen to fall in a range that allows us some flexibility, so let's do that. Let's not
Yeah,
spend.
I understand. I just, it seems like this road, it's like, as long as we're okay, we know, like you said, the contracted, we know what the costs are. I appreciate you explaining that, because I don't wanna get all this way, and then we cut a little bit just to, do that, and then we need a contingency that's more. That's like the worst nightmare that I would have about this entire project.
Yeah.
So that's it, that's
Yep.
why I wanna make sure that it's not just like, I understand that, people they've set aside, that's great, but I wanna make sure that if we're going to do this and do it right, that I wanna make sure we feel comfortable with that. And
Well,
if you
I
can,
mean-
if you say it,
Yep.
and you say it, 10%, I feel comfortable.
I mean, the other way to do this obviously would be to borrow to the max and then use,
Pay it back.
reassign the 120.
Yeah, I guess I would
Exactly,
just,
yeah.
I would point out that was, like this board is very faithful in terms of what the voters, but that is what was approved.
Mhm.
And I know it said up to, so I agree, I understand we can do that, and I'm all for, but if we feel like a 10% contingency is appropriate, then sure, why not borrow less?
You're gonna borrow around 160.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my question has not been addressed yet, which was, did the bid from Callahan include any contingency in it? Or was it completely for the price?
That is just for the price. That's what they, and we actually worked to reduce risk for the contractors, so they did not
Okay.
have a contingency. It is just straight up cost of the project.
So
Okay.
the contingency, the 10%, were you gonna ask?
That's on our end, yeah.
Right, so
That's
we're,
ours?
Yeah.
so we're gonna
We
put
have
it,
10%. Is Winthrop doing the same thing?
I have no idea. What Winthrop's
Well, we
doing
would
on it.
only spend our contingency in relation to agreement with Winthrop in terms of, so
Project
if an item
overrun.
is, let's say, we decide there's a reason to spend $10,000 extra on this.
Yeah.
Well, 5,300 of that is us, and
Yep.
4,700 of it is them, so obviously at that point, there's
They'll
some
have to come up with
discussion.
their money, however they.
Yep, so we both have to kind of approve that.
And it's already been approved.
Yeah.
Their
Well, the
money
thing
has
is, though,
already
we've
been-
gone through a very detailed bid process.
Yeah.
And as Larry has said, the contingencies over the time period of
Yeah.
this have been much
Right.
higher because there were so many unknowns.
Yeah.
This is the known
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's well
Okay,
known. You're
I
absolutely right,
appreciate
yeah.
it. Sometimes I just need to have my fears allayed in that manner, because if we feel confident and I trust
Yeah.
the work that's been done, I'm not some guy that's just gonna, but if that's good, then I say go for it.
Probably if this hadn't been engineered to death. I
Yeah,
mean, it's been out and come back and gone out and
Right.
back.
right.
Yeah, and if you notice too, in the bid, the way it was structured, we had 17 items. Many were lump sum. We have very
Yes.
few per each or, by
Yeah.
the unit. So, and those are based on very reliable estimates that we've narrowed down a lot over the past few years. So you're absolutely right. There is a lot less risk here. And I do think that, the idea of perhaps borrowing the full amount and then offsetting with that 120 that we have in the bank could be an option, because it could give us more flexibility about what we spend that money on. It certainly doesn't have the strings that borrowed money has with it. But I definitely
So you'd rather have
appreciate
the
the-
borrowed money,
Well, I don't know if I would rather have it. I think that there's a couple different ways to approach it. I think that by borrowing less, we are going to save money on interest, no question, by borrowing less upfront.
We also commit future boards to not as higher level of
Payment.
bonding cost.
Yep, absolutely. So,
Bonding outlay, I should say, repayment. And there may be other things that need to be bonded in the future. So I'm always trying to be aware of, on the capital end, what our bonding capacity is for
Absolutely.
the town.
yeah,
So-
and we're very healthy. I mean, one of the analyses that we did in preparing for this borrowing was to look at our total
I remember you
indebtedness.
saying this, yes.
Yeah,
Extremely low.
I think it was in the, our factor, we were allowed to have up to, there's a debt limit set by the state, but we were well underneath that anyway. I think it was 7.5%, which is what they were allowed. So we could have a significant amount, but our debt limit right now is $19,458,750. We are well underneath that. Right now, I believe our total debt, once this borrowing is completed, will be, let's see, 177, 720, somewhere under $1 million anyway. So we're at 5%, or less.
Okay, so this.
We're healthy.
Yep, this discussion has been mainly for the purpose of guidance, so.
Sure, yeah, sorry,
I
I'm
think we'll
getting into
move on
details.
to, did we vote?
We did not vote.
No,
We did
this
not.
So it was
just-
to
we got
authorize the
motion.
town
Yes,
manager
that's
up
right, okay.
up
So,
to the 177.
Is there any
and we've
other
now given him
discussion
advice.
on the motion?
Thank you very much, colleagues, for helping and understanding.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? It is unanimous. Thank you.
So-
Is there some other discussion on the dam?
Yes, and I guess rather than, I don't know if your name is? Bill, I don't know, Bill, if you would like to start off with some discussion, or if you'd like to hear my opinion on the discussion.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so there was some discussion as we were leaving the Winthrop hearing about the public being uncomfortable that the discussion from residents was going to take place at each select board's meeting rather than at the joint meeting. And there is one property that's abutting the dam outlet that has had significant erosion, and they have a lot of strong feelings about the erosion that's taking place. It's come to within just a few feet of their house, 3 feet. It's about the width of a sidewalk. We drove by it just on our way here.
They've lost 27, 28 feet downside.
But the house sits on a ledge, and it's the surface material that has eroded due to the old gate being there into it. I think the house is.
Can you
fine.
go to the mic if we're going to do this?
So was that a question, Catherine? I'm not sure.
The
where-
house.
I'm not at a question yet.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
just at explaining what
The
I'm
house
saying.
sits on a frost wall. It's not a full basement, and it's down to ledge. And yes, the old gate, uncontrolled at many times, eroded an awful lot of that side on the left bank as you look downstream, up by the Heiss's house. But with what's happened, and you can see the ledge, the house does set on ledge, I don't see any indication of further worry or subsidence on this part of their house that this is gonna take care of it. And I don't see the reason to try to rush this fall to put in the stream bank stabilization. It is what it is, and it's gonna be taken care of. There's some issue, the Heiss has some medical issues as well, and it's just, there's a lot of worry on their part, and it's certainly understandable.
Right.
But I
So
think we're in very good shape.
that's not where I was going to go with this, but the information is excellent. So they've lost a significant amount of land that supports the land on top of the ledge that their house sits on. And my understanding is there's been some damage coming from their house settling, and they have a great fear that their house is going to possibly fall down, which I don't think is the case because we've had engineering studies done, and you've just stated that this is going to be done in a year. And But in looking at the physical property and listening to some of the comments and knowing what there is, I would just like us to have a very short discussion about our feelings on if there are damages to their house that are related to this project. Is that something that we would be willing to consider at a future point in time when those are known quantities, say when the project is being completed? Would we be willing to consider listening to a conversation about what the towns could contribute to that?
I can answer that partially, and I hope quickly.
Great.
It's addressed in the contract. If the contractor damages the property during construction, they're responsible for repairing it. So that's something that their insurance covers. It's something that they will be addressing, and it was thought about deliberately and intentionally. Language was changed to be as generous as possible to the abutting property as far as protection. So I would say absolutely, we have concern. It's been an ongoing concern. The dam committee has expressed that. It's not been a cold, inhuman calculation. Not anybody suggesting that it is, but there's been a lot of thought put into that particular issue. And even though it's taken 25 years to lose 27 feet, now is the time to address it. I would want to say that it could have been addressed earlier, but here we are with not much real estate literally left to work on for repairing the dam, and it does put the house in a bit more, I think, of a precarious position, because you have heavy equipment coming in near that structure, fully recognized, fully addressed in the bid documents.
And does the bid actually give them back any land? Well, the stream stabilization, does that like build a wall and fill in any of it, or does it just stabilize what is already there?
They might gain a foot. It's really incidental. The idea is to have the riprap address just the existing slope and meet the top of the slope as it exists currently. The homeowner does want to do some work there, and they would be contracting or talking with the contractor that we select for a separate project that they'll be paying for and managing to stabilize that area, put in a paved brick path, things like that. So in my view, we have been working together on this. We changed and put in the design for this project, we put in plans that show the future work that the homeowner wanted to have done. So we've been doing everything we possibly can to accommodate, but of course, never making any promises that the work we do will in any way save or protect their house. If it does, it's somewhat incidental, but we have not said, and I don't think anybody ever has the entire time we've been working on this project, that the goal is to stabilize or protect their house. It's to protect the bank, prevent any future erosion. Whatever happens, happens. We can't undo the 25 years that this was neglected. What we can do is stabilize what's there and move forward, and I think that we're doing that in as responsible a way as we can for both the homeowner and the taxpayers. And I've heard the concerns about settlement, but I just haven't seen it. And you know, I've only been there for the last couple of years, but it's hard to say with a house that's 100+ years old what's causing a window to not open right. So I don't want to get into the discussion of whether there was a cause and effect for a number of reasons, but I do understand the concerns, and I just want you and anybody else that's watching to know that we, the dam committee, and certainly the town managers, took this very seriously. We met with them multiple times and did everything we could to protect and make sure that that property stays intact throughout this process.
And do we, as the towns, have any liability for the 25 years that this didn't happen?
I certainly don't think so.
Okay. I'm trying to protect the town here.
Yeah, I understand. I absolutely
And,
understand.
We're gonna have to extend the meeting.
Yes, I'll take a motion to extend the meeting for 15 minutes, please.
But so that's my, yeah.
How long is the
Sorry.
town of Reedfield?
I'll second
owned it?
that.
Okay, I'm going to just deal with the motion that's on
sorry.
the floor really quickly. So it's been moved and seconded to extend the meeting for 15 minutes. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you,
See.
Chris. So these things have already been addressed, and I know that the biggest concern that seems to have been addressed when we had a joint meeting here last November and was still being addressed, I'm sure, tonight, is the timing of the project. Neither town was in a position to afford the project previously, and I believe this property owner understood that and was okay with that. I mean, it wasn't their great desire, but understood that, and now we have approved it tonight, and I hope the Winthrop Council has approved it, so they can sleep a little better knowing that it's going to be done now. And that if any further damage occurs due to the project, that would be covered in the project by the contractor.
I feel very confident that you guys, knowing you and Ryan together, I'm sure no stone has been left unturned. So thank you for that.
One thing, if I may,
Please.
you can be assured that H.E. Callahan will have a structural engineer come do a pre-construction survey on that property on behalf of their insurance company. I guarantee it, that a contract of this size, such a wonderful company as H.E. Callahan will have that all taken care of. And I don't know if it was mentioned or not, but at the bid opening, the president of H.E. Callahan was there at the bid opening, so.
I didn't realize that's who that was, Larry.
Pardon me?
I didn't realize that's who that was, but, yeah.
She's president.
Admittedly not, and that's my
She's president
mistake.
of H.E. Callahan and a very extremely well-qualified individual that runs a company superbly, so you're in good hands, so.
Great.
Thank
Well,
you, Larry.
thank you for permitting me to have that discussion. I thought it was needed because there was a lot of concern from people, especially in Winthrop.
Thank you. We'll move on to 19008, which is to elect 2 representatives to the MMA Legislative Policy Committee. In your packet is a memorandum. There is an official ballot, and the official ballot names Nate Rudy, who is the manager of the city of Hallowell, and Rita Moran, who is a counselor from the town of Winthrop, who is sitting 2 seats to my left. I know both of the individuals very well, and I would move that the town of Reedfield cast its official ballot for Nate Rudy and Rita Moran.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to cast that ballot as published here for Mr. Nate Rudy and Ms. Rita Moran. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. So we do need to sign this, huh?
Yeah, it's coming
Passing it
around.
along.
Okay, great, good, excellent. We'll consider the award under 19009 for a contract for the replacement of winter maintenance equipment. Eric, the floor is yours about the
Okay,
end
so,
of the holder.
yes, the end of the holder. We have been in need of a replacement piece of equipment for quite some time. As you know, costs for maintenance have been exceeding the costs of even a short-term lease on this thing, as of this last year. So we have very rapidly escalating costs and an old piece of equipment that is becoming harder and harder to service. So what we did was look at various pieces of equipment over the past year, essentially. We did have the luxury of doing demos on 2 pieces of equipment last year. And with that information, we went forward with a request for proposals for replacement for this piece of equipment, the holder, sidewalk machine, with the focus and hope that we could find one that would be able to perform other work for the municipality in other areas, have some versatility to it. The holder was a very expensive one-trick pony. And I think that we can do better, and the taxpayers deserve to have a piece of equipment that does more than just sit in the garage idle all summer. And I think that we may have found that with any of these 4 pieces of equipment that we received quotes for. That being said, we did receive 2 that were over $100,000. One that was around $60,000 for the base price, and before attachments, and one that was right around $45,000, including attachments. So I don't want to say it's just as simple as dollars and cents, but in my view, all 4 of these pieces of equipment could do the work for us. Some of them could do it much more quickly, maybe much more extensively, have more versatility, but the price tag just doesn't justify or doesn't match up, I should say, with our needs. The Bobcat equipment that we demoed last year and that we did receive a quote for really does meet our needs. At the very least, it will meet our sidewalk clearing needs in the wintertime and perhaps in the summertime if we got a sweeper for it, but that's not being recommended at this point, as well as materials handling and some supplemental work at the transfer station that we may be able to try it out for. Also small road work projects. We had one today that could have been useful for, perhaps as an alternative to the backhoe. So we have some options, but my recommendation to the board is that after this bidding process, in which we received 4 bids, is that we go with the Jordan Equipment, if I can get to it, proposal for a Bobcat S595 for a total price, including attachments, as specified, and they have several that they identify, different kits and accessories and safety equipment. A total price of $46,676.89. And I don't know what else to say other than it worked well for us when we demoed it. The town of Farmington has one that they use almost exclusively for their sidewalks. The package we're getting is nearly identical to what they're getting, with the exception that we have a bit more power with the snowblower attachment that we're pursuing. So that's my summary, and I'm happy to take any questions on the process, on the pieces of equipment. We did have a pre-bid meeting, and it was attended by 2 of the contractors, Jordan and I believe HP Fairfield. So yeah, I don't know what else to add.
So you have a lease for 3 years?
I am pursuing or recommending a 3-year lease. I did include with that supplemental information I gave you today an updated proposal from Androscoggin Bank for a 3-year lease, which I would recommend also that if we're going to get down that road, that we move forward with them for that. The rate they gave us, 377, is right in line with the rates that we've been seeing elsewhere. Winthrop has put out several pieces of equipment, and they were in that very same range, 3.7. So it's a good rate for the term, and I'd very much like to move forward with them and with Jordan Equipment. If I
So
wanted to.
one question on Jordan Equipment
Sure.
would be their reputation on repair and responsiveness.
I can't say long-term. We haven't had any equipment serviced by them. They've been in business for quite some time. I know that they do a lot of municipal work. They gave us several municipal references, towns that are actually carrying the Bobcats that they have sold. I did talk to a few town managers that have worked with them and had positive reviews. John might have some perspective on that as well, but I can say that when we demoed their equipment, of course, it was a demo, but they were incredibly responsive during that time. And they do have service, boy, I think it was someplace closer than Bangor, but relatively close. The Walker's been going, not the Walker, the Holder's been going to Westbrook, so they're certainly closer than that at this point.
So 2 more quick questions. When
Sure.
would you take delivery?
We could take delivery at any time within the next month. I think they said it would be about 2 weeks to get everything put together and delivered.
Okay.
They had a note at the bottom of their proposal, if I remember correctly.
And then my second question is the holder goes on the block?
It would go on the block. Yeah, they were, I won't say wise, but they didn't give us a trade-in price for that.
Yes, I noticed that was going to be my question.
Yeah, and nobody really did that was in range here.
Well, they're also taking in a a different line of, a different kind of
Right.
piece of equipment.
Yes, they wouldn't handle this. So I think our best option with that is to put it out to bid and see if we can get perhaps one of these companies that, Beauregard is a prime example. They offered us a great price for it,
Yeah.
almost $10,000. Say, hey, you know, what will you give us for bid on it? But I think that's probably the best option for us.
Okay.
To put a reserve on it and put it out to bid.
Okay.
Mike, go ahead. I have a couple questions.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I was actually in earlier today signing warrants and asked Eric these questions, but I just thought maybe you could answer them very briefly. The other pieces of equipment that were quoted included plows and snow blowers, and this will have just a snow blower.
Yes.
And
Yep.
this is a two-stage snow blower,
Yes.
and so it should very adequately be able to handle the amount of snow our sidewalks get, being very adjacent to a state highway.
Yes, it's taller and it has high flow capacity for the hydraulics, so it'll move faster, have more power to it. And
There's a bucket too, so
it does have a bucket, so,
Right.
and a plow for this isn't that much, but honestly, we really never used the plow unless we were, you know, hard up after the holder broke down, we needed to smash through ice. So with a new piece of equipment, we won't have that problem.
You
Okay.
can do that with the bucket.
The best
Yeah.
thing about this is you actually got to try it in a really bad snowstorm.
We did, yes.
So
Yeah.
that tells you a lot.
carries water.
Well, and it was after the snowstorm, I believe, so you were cutting through a tremendous amount of built-up snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good trial. I mean, they were gracious enough to let us borrow it when the holder was down, which was helpful. And we got to have
That
some
sounds
real,
almost strategic.
so, I mean, but it was the right thing to do because we know that that equipment can handle the heavy snow, the packed snow. And we know that, yeah, I mean, we learned some things from it. We learned that we wanted a higher capacity snow blower. We learned that we want to make sure we have, you know, the right tires on it. And so I think that this package does deliver for that very specific purpose what we need, but it also gives us a little bit of flexibility in a few other areas, the bucket. I think this,
But just having a
Forks as well,
multi-use
yeah.
piece of equipment, I think, is very forward-looking. Being able to use it in multiple ways, I think, is exactly what we try to make in terms of efficiency decisions for these types of things.
yeah.
But its
agreed.
primary assignment will be the sidewalk.
Amen.
Yes, and
Yes.
if it does work at the transfer station, we will need to talk to the Solid Waste Recycling Committee about cost sharing for that somehow, whether it's on an hourly basis or whatever that may be, but we will
But
certainly
even
work
then, we
out.
will preserve the machine for its primary task. always.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to make sure that any wear on it is accounted for and,
Well, we're
Right.
approaching the end of our 15 minutes. I want to make sure
And
that I recognize.
just wanted to note that
people.
this does not include a sander. Actually, we're at our 15 minutes,
Yeah, it's 4 to 2 is 15.
so we're,
Okay, let's take a motion for another 10.
I'll
so,
move to extend this meeting for 10 more minutes.
I don't even think we'll need it, but.
Okay.
all in
Second.
favor? Second. Thank you.
this package does not include a sander, and when Eric and I spoke about that earlier today, he didn't think we were going to actually need a sander, because clearing the sidewalk down to the bare pavement, the sun really took care of the rest of the issue. A lot of the problems we've had over the past years have been that the holder hasn't been working consistently, so we would have buildup of 4 or 5 inches and then a great need to sand. And there are other rather low-cost methods for sanding.
yeah, tow behind with a gas spreader would be one option.
Basically, but, you know, a couple of things. Jordan Equipment has a very good reputation.
Great.
I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Jordan Equipment. The Erskine snow blower, Erskine is a company that they make airport snow blowers. They, I mean, huge, you know,
Yeah.
12, 14 foot, huge things. Excellent reputation. As far as sanding, pretty much what you could do, if you do have some icy spots, is put the bucket on the Bobcat.
Yeah.
Put sand, you know, go to the sand shed, get some sand, and have somebody actually go and, you know, spread it. So it's,
Yeah, I'm all for
I
it.
think this is gonna be a good piece of equipment. Bobcat has a extremely good name out there.
And this proposal does not address the request for bids for a mowing bar.
It does
So
not.
will we be looking at that at a future time?
I'd like to have you look at it tonight if possible, because, but we can finish that discussion at a later point if you'd like to, or I can go into it now.
Well, I think if you can do it quickly, it's basically replacing a similar piece of
Yeah.
equipment, and pretty soon you're gonna need to do your first mowing.
Yeah, absolutely. So
It's not going to be part of the same expense line, though, is it?
it would not, and so we actually, during the budget process, discussed this as a separate item. We put away $10,000 for a replacement sickle bar, or not sickle bar, a disc mower. We had a quote last year from Hammond Tractor for $9,000 piece of equipment. Because we didn't get anything in that would actually meet that need in this quote process, I'd like to just go back to them and see if they can update that quote that we received last year and expend up to that $10,000 amount to get a replacement in kind, more or less, for what we have for the John Deere, and continue to do that in-house because it is a value-added proposition for us to do that in-house. I think if we went that route, I could have very likely something in-house in a couple weeks.
So the mower bar is not for the Bobcat?
The mower bar was not for the
Okay,
Bobcat.
let's
For the
deal with
John Deere.
Bobcat.
Well,
and-
yeah, and that's what I was kind of
That's
asking.
what I was
so,
getting at.
yeah.
And would that mower bar last for a number of years?
If it's properly maintained and not dragged on the ground, it should last 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Then that's a real good thing. So I
The
would
mower
like,
bar's already authorized. In
It
the
was-
budget.
it's in the
It
budget.
is authorized,
But it's not
yes.
authorized for purchase.
Yes, and it is a little bit outside of the quote process because we did do an RFP for it. However,
Okay.
we didn't get a specific quote, so I'm going to
Okay,
look back to
understood.
last year, so.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve, to authorize the town manager to purchase from Jordan Equipment Company a Bobcat skid steer loader per the quotation received, and to authorize him to finance through the proposal received from Androscoggin Bank on a 3-year lease.
Second?
It's been moved. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. I'm not going to repeat the motion. I think everybody heard it. Any further discussion? All in favor? So is there anything we need to dispose of with the mower bar tonight?
Yes, in the supplemental that I gave to you earlier tonight, there is a copy of that quote from Hammond for $9,000. This was after the bar had failed on us, and we spent a long time looking at repair versus replacement options. I'm fairly comfortable that we could move forward with a revised quote that would be under that $10,000 limit. And if not, I can certainly come back to the board to look at that. But because we have the money authorized in the budget, because we've discussed it at length through the budget process, and because we do have a quote, even if it's a year out, I'd like to be able to work with Hammond Tractor to purchase that. So I would appreciate the motion being something to the effect of up to $10,000 to purchase a disc mower from Hammond Tractor.
And this will do the mowing that we sub out now?
The roadside mowing that typically costs us about $5,000 for one pass, and we really should be doing two.
We missed Nicholson Hill Road last year.
But we've been doing it in-house.
We have been for the past 8 years, and then we had the equipment failure, and then we went back to the contract and
And you're
so
saying,
forth.
that so this is in line with our purchasing policy because we have gathered quotes on this?
And we made an effort to get a quote, it just didn't come through. So we work with what we have based on,
No need to reopen the process.
yeah, I mean, it would be foolish to reopen it for something that we've already put out to bid. We just didn't get a bid on it.
Yeah, that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to authorize the town manager to spend up to $10,000 for a new cut disc mower for our John Deere tractor through, as close to the quote from Hammond Tractor Company that is 10 months old.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. I won't repeat it. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. This board will meet on the 23rd. That won't be a business meeting. It'll be our retreat here on on a Monday, and it'll go from 4 to 10, and I really look forward to
No, we
that
will not.
process. What?
4 to 10?
4 to 8, sorry. I wanted to add in the bar time afterwards, and I shouldn't have.
Ah, there we go.
No, that
Was
doesn't
it
include.
22? Yeah, yeah.
From 4 to 8 PM.
4 to
and
8.
That is a
and,
public meeting.
We'll have some pizza or something like that, or
This
subs.
is a public meeting, but there's no public comment. And
Right.
Well, the process that we used in the past did allow the public to say a few things at the opening if they wanted to, and a few things at the closing in terms of thoughts or
Is this
observations.
the select board retreat?
Yes,
Yes.
so there'll be a limited amount of time for that, but it will be available.
It's not a public intertwined conversation.
No.
And we'll be talking about consensus and what we see and want to set as goals, but we will vote on those goals at a follow-up meeting. So we won't actually be taking any votes that night. We'll be taking our pulse of consensus.
Pulse.
Before you reach for the gavel, I think that because this is the last televised meeting we have, the
Yes.
summer residents meeting,
The summer residents meeting
August-
is August 3rd, right?
5 o'clock PM, right here. Everybody's
evening.
welcome, Friday evening, and we're going to have refreshments. So
Will there be punch and pie?
Punch and cookies.
if you bring the pie.
I went.
If you bring the
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? We're
John?
adjourned.